Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Randi Thompson, sitting in for the vacationing Sam Shad. Today we'll be talking with Caleb Cage, the Vice Chancellor of Workforce Development and the Chief Innovation Officer, on a strategic plan for higher education. Coming up on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com, tollsdevelopment.com.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And we're back on Nevada Newsmakers with one of my favorite guests. I think this is Caleb Cage, who's currently the Vice Chancellor of Workforce Development and Chief Innovation Officer for the System of Higher Education. I think I interview you every time you change a job. So I've interviewed you as your first time at the Chancellor's office when you were Associate Chancellor for Workforce Development, and then I had you talking about your book that you authored, and then I talked to you about COVID when you were the State Response Director. So I just love coming and having you come in and talk to me when you have a new job.
Well, I always love talking to you, Randi. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So we're taping this on February 9th, and there's a little media coverage right now about the Nevada System of Higher Education and Chancellor Melody Rose. I'm not going to ask you about any specifics, but just you've been back at the university now for how long?
8 months now.
8 months. And how is the experience going? How do you like Chancellor Rose?
Well, Chancellor Rose is great. She's a tremendous boss and a visionary, and she's been a really exceptional guiding force and bringing me on and allowing me to grow into the position. But more important, I think, focusing on the outcomes that we really need to be focused on, which are all related to student success. Right? At the end of the day, that's who we need to make sure we're supporting the most are our students, faculty, the people who provide those services throughout the state. And I'm really excited about one of the projects that she has me working on is the what will amount to being a 10-year strategic planning process. And so it's multiple strategic initiatives that are kind of braided together into a strategic planning process. And I've said this before, but I've never been through one that has a strategic planning process that has this much forethought, that has this much input from those who love what we're doing, those critics of what we're doing. Everybody's welcome to provide input, and I think that's how we're going to grow. I think we're at a place right now where we are in a transformational moment nationwide, maybe even globally, for higher education. and it's been really inspiring and encouraging to be mentored by her and to see her vision to help implement it.
Well, I don't think there's a functional school board in this state. That's just my editorial comment. So anytime you're dealing with an elected body, you're going to have diverse personalities, you're going to have change, and not everybody goes change mode in the same way. So I can understand some people it's tough. I mean, I don't think Washoe County and Las Vegas school boards are doing the best job either, so I won't be critical of your board, but just saying change is tough, and she's bringing in change, and that's probably a good thing. So you talked a little bit about the fundamental changes of higher education. Just yesterday I was reading that there are 1 million less kids enrolled in college than there was pre-COVID. And their prediction is that's $1 trillion in loss in income over the next 10 years. Roughly 600,000 kids that won't become masters, or 400,000 that won't get a PhD or higher earning potential. So there is a seismic shift going on in education. And first of all, it's how do you get kids back to school right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could whiteboard 10 different problems and challenges just in that one setup to the question you provided right there. It's a really challenging environment right now. And one where when your funding model, when your finance model is based on enrollment of students, when we've seen a precipitous decline in enrollment since really 2008.
What are you seeing overall for the system?
What we're seeing overall for the system, we're seeing close to even enrollment at some institutions, small declines at others. The Nevada system institutions have done relatively well given the incredible challenge that I think COVID presented to the declining enrollment. And nobody's sitting back and saying this is acceptable, this is fine, we're just gonna go with this. Everybody is looking for ways to make sure that they're providing services that the students, the industries, the employers, the communities, everyone in the state really needs as far as education is concerned. To your specific question, how do you get students back? I think that is the question, and I'd love to give you the 3-point plan right now. But I think that's a part of the strategic plan, right? You have to address the sustainability of the model long term, internally. You have to make sure that we are meeting the needs of employers, of industries in the communities we serve. And we have to make sure we're not reactive. Because if we are reactive, we're only going to be seizing those opportunities that are coming to us. And what happens in that instance is you're always playing catch up, but you're also not addressing the needs of the underserved communities very well either in a state where you have a public education system, higher education system that should serve all Nevadans and should be available for reskilling, upskilling, all the way to PhD, as you noted before earlier, should be available to everyone in Nevada in order to have the opportunities that education provides. And so you have to do that strategically so that you're not just putting out fires, but you're doing so in a way that benefits all Nevadans, that is something that is real and tangible that they can then take to the workforce, take to their communities, take to their lives, and improve where their position or wherever they are in life.
So the challenge is every sector in Nevada needs workers. There's a help wanted sign from St. Mary's Hospital to the local Burger King. I was talking to Sonny Newman, who owns EE Technologies. He goes, I'm good on the trained, high-skilled stuff. I cannot get the entry-level positions. People just don't want to come back to work. So you've got incredible challenges in every sector. How are you prioritizing workforce development in Nevada compared to like healthcare versus Teslas and high-tech stuff? How are you having to prioritize those sectors?
Well, so our college and university partners do a tremendous job and they're providing those frontline services, right? Their faculty are providing the services to the students. They're providing services to industry. They're providing all of those services, and they're doing that prioritization based on their community needs.
And at
right?
the local level needs, okay.
Local level needs, and they're getting a lot of input from business communities. That's through formal advisory boards, that's through informal groups, that's through groups like EDAWN or LEGEA or you know, their similar organizations throughout the state. And what we're trying to do right now from a strategic level. So what we're doing we think in terms of systemness, which is the new word that I'm working on right now, and I really like it because it talks about how we can coordinate between the institutions, look for opportunities to identify gaps in services that are being provided, identify areas where we have overlap and we're, you know, maybe duplicating resources or duplicating efforts, and we can help coordinate that better from the system level. What the Chancellor has done in bringing me on, and she made this clear from the beginning, is she said, I want you to be Vice Chancellor for Workforce Development, but as the Chief Innovation Officer, I want you to also lead up the strategic initiatives for NSHE, for the system. And in doing so, she made sure that workforce development and our strategic trajectory going forward were intertwined. So, and this is what the colleges and universities in the state do right now anyway, right? You listen to presentations at the board meeting, and they're talking about workforce development. They're talking about putting teachers in classrooms, putting nurses and doctors in hospitals, finding engineers, you know, training engineers, recruiting engineers to get into their programs. It's all workforce development in some respect, and I think the structure that the Chancellor has brought on has really allowed us to make sure that workforce development is a focus of everything we do.
So in Carson City, I know ClickBond works with Western Nevada College to develop a really kind of an internship program for their machinists is what they need. TMCC has worked with Tesla and Panasonic to create sort of a robotics area. So I'm seeing how you're right. They're handling it at the local level. What are the needs of that community? So there's been a little jealousy. It's kind of a reverse jealousy right now. If you look at how we've diversified our economy up here in the north, and case in point, Reno's unemployment rate is about 2.9, which is, I don't think you can get much lower. Meanwhile, Vegas is 6%. So we have almost shown how diversification is benefiting our communities. Can you tell me what they're looking at in Las Vegas to help diversify their economy? Because I think they're getting that when you are a tourist-dependent economy, and tourism drops dramatically, you're impacted. So what are we looking at for Las Vegas?
Well, I was born and raised here in Sparks, and I remember probably as early as elementary school, certainly middle school, hearing people talking about the need to diversify the economy, and this was 25 years ago, 30 years ago at this point. And I know it lasted long before then. We do have an economy that's based on hospitality. That means that when there's a national economic crisis, we feel that here, worse in Nevada, and so on. And so there have been extraordinary efforts to diversify throughout the state. And I think some of the efforts here in northern Nevada have really stuck. And you're looking at the Tesla is the example I think everybody thinks of, and I think it's an appropriate example to think of. But so much economic diversification has happened around that. I'm not in conversations. I don't know that I've been in conversations throughout the state where the need for assisting Southern Nevada in their diversification efforts has not been a priority, whether it's a priority of people in Northern Nevada, people in Southern Nevada, because it's a critical part of our statewide economy. We all benefit with a strong Southern Nevada.
Well, as Vegas goes, so goes Nevada.
There's
True.
no question.
Yeah.
There's no question. And you can even narrow it down to certain sectors within Vegas. As they go, so goes Nevada. But right now we're looking at, I know that the College of Southern Nevada and the city of Henderson just broke ground on the Center of Excellence for Haas Manufacturing, which is machinists, which is a huge expansion that's going on down there from Southern California into Southern Nevada. And that's just one, right? We're also seeing increased interest in technology firms. We're seeing increased interest in headquartering, which Northern Nevada has benefited from for corporate headquarters for a long time. I don't think anybody who's involved in the economic development, workforce development discussion sees it any differently.
Yeah.
We have to make every effort possible, and that economic development and workforce development, those two hands have to be completely working together to be successful.
Well, that's good. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. You have a great hotel here. Mike Pegerman's invested a ton of money into this place to make it just gorgeous. Tell people what they can expect when they come down and stay.
A real quality experience, Sam, and the rooms, you've stayed in them, they're good size, very well appointed, clean, and for about $65 Sunday through Thursday right now through the winter. After you're done with your meetings, you take a nice, beautiful scenic drive and come stay in a very nice, beautiful room. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And we're back on Nevada Newsmakers with Caleb Cage, the Vice Chancellor of Workforce Development and Chief Innovation Officer. Sounds so formal, but you are an innovative guy. You are a strategic guy. So Chancellor Rose has asked you to lead on the strategic plan process, 10-year planning process. What are you guys doing now? What's happening with that?
So right now we're in the what the Chancellor refers to as the y'all come phase, right? We want everyone in the state who has an interest in what we're doing in higher education to come to listening sessions that we're holding statewide, some virtual, that we've received some feedback on that people would like virtual opportunities as well. We've got about 12 listening sessions to get to between now and April. And essentially what we're doing is we're just looking at specific topics that we know are important to people, giving an overview of what we're doing at the system of higher education and asking for their input. And so that's where we're at right now. We'll go from there into sort of a strategic visioning process where we take all of that information together. And then by October, we should have a plan that says this is how we can transform the system over the next decade.
So there was a question on the ballot last election, question 1, that said essentially they wanted to kind of break apart the system of higher education. I admit it, my dad ran the Reno Business College when I was growing up. I am a community college person. I'm on TMCC's board of advisors for their business school. I see the niche that community colleges fill, which is those 2-year degrees, the people that just want to get out and get working, versus the higher education, long-term university things. How are you guys addressing I think there's some political pressure on you guys on how are you making sure that the community colleges are getting the attention that they want, and in an environment where people were saying, let's just let the community colleges go do their own thing. I mean, you need to have a seamless transition. If you're going to go to TMCC for 2 years and I want to go finish my degree at UNR, it should be a seamless transition. So I understand them wanting to keep them together. But what are some of the political pressures you've got under this strategic planning process?
Yeah, so political pressures on the strategic planning process, what we're doing to address some of those issues. I think, I couldn't agree more. I have 3 little kids, 8, 6, and 2, and they'll make their own decisions on what they want to do when they're old enough to do so. But my encouragement to them will be to go to community college. I want them to go to community college and dual enrollment while they're still in high school, so that they can get that jump start and get those credits. There's a tremendous opportunity for non-traditional students, whether they're high school age students or people who are in the workforce who need to upskill or reskill and as well as traditional students who graduate from Washoe County school districts like I did and go straight into community college and then on to the universities if they want to do that later. So there's real value in, and back to that word, that systemness, right? That approach that says, if you get a degree from Western Nevada College, a Great Basin College here in Northern Nevada, Truckee Meadows, you should have that seamless transition into one of our research institutions if that's what you want to do to continue your education. And I think having a system allows for those sorts of things to happen more easily. Some of the political pressures out there I think we saw play out over the last year, but a part of that strategic initiative, those strategic initiatives that are making up our strategic planning effort, include the Assembly Bill 450 committee. And I'm not going to remember the exact name of it, but it's the Community College Workforce and Training Committee or something to that effect. And this was introduced by Governor Sisolak and signed by Governor Sisolak. He appointed, I think, 8 people, including the Chancellor to co-chair with a member of the community as well. And they're addressing those exact questions. How do we make sure that we are funding community colleges adequately for them to be successful? How do we make sure that we're coordinating them in a way that'll make them successful?
All right, we're going to continue this conversation right after this.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States. I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And we're back at Nevada Newsmakers with Caleb Cage, the Vice Chancellor for Workforce Development and Chief Innovation Officer. And I'm going to digress a little bit to your last job when you were the State Director for COVID response. It's been 2 years now, almost 2 years, since we essentially shut down our economy. It wasn't just Nevada, across the country. And we're seeing some studies coming out questioning how effective that was. John Hopkins studies saying that it had very little, minimum impact on deaths. But the shutdown was really to slow the curve, it's to slow the spread so that our hospitals weren't overwhelmed. And I think we kind of did that. But just looking back on your tenure at the state on COVID, what did you learn? What do you think we could do better next time? Because we know we're going to have another one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think the studies will continue, and they should continue. In fact, I'm studying at our university here in a program, and I intend to study this even further in research when I get the chance to do that, thinking and writing on it. I think it's critically important for us to look back and say, okay, what were we facing at that time? What was the context of these decisions we were making? What were these decisions being made in? And how can we do better? I think, 2020 hindsight and all of those things, I think looking back, There are definitely things that when this happens again, not if, but when something like this happens again, we'll be able to say, okay, we now don't need to have a debate about masks or vaccines or whatever those things are, or we already have. We know that mRNA works, right? And which is something that was an extraordinary innovation from this. I think one of the things that I think we'll need to do better is in the collaborative way that we work with communities across the state. That's something that I'm doing a lot of thinking on and reflecting on, and how we could have done better in working with our tribal partners, working with county and city partners. And federalism is a difficult, challenging model, but it's our model. How do we work with our federal partners? How do we work with our local partners? How do they see us? How can we do better?
Well, I think that was a big statement a while back, is we're one Nevada. Well, we're not. We're 17 Nevadas, and we're a very rural state. And then there's Las Vegas and there's Reno. So that's a good point, is to look at how we can better coordinate with the local governments and giving them a little more flexibility. I mean, just yesterday, Carson City voted to remove masks from the schools.
School districts.
Yeah, the school district did. So I think giving a little more autonomy to our local leaders is probably the best lesson to learn. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service to Nevada. You are an incredible servant to our people, and I just appreciate all the work you've done.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Good. We'll be right back after this.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. And a lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Are you a homeowner who's interested in remodeling or building a home? At Design Outdoor, we can show you how adding natural or manufactured masonry stone can add beauty and value to your home. And we refer only the best contractors. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org. Thank you for listening and watching. You can watch us anytime online at NevadaNewsmakers.com. Have a great day.